Good evening and welcome to LMR Live on location in Studio 19 in Nashville, Tennessee. I am Nancy Mariah Balish, the Living Music Resources Artistic Director, and we are thrilled to be coming to you tonight from Music City. Why are we in Nashville? Why Studio 19? We are here thanks to Ole Miss alumni and the UM Foundation. This experience was first suggested to me by my friend, a friend of LMR and a real asset to the university, Ron Wilson, who introduced me to an Ole Miss alumnus, Larry Rogers. And we started planning this adventure. Our interaction has led to additional collaborations with Jeff Robertson and Jim Weatherly. And the best part, you get to meet these individuals and hear from them this evening. But I did not travel alone. I would not do that. I've had the pleasure of organizing this trip focused on career development that has brought 8 of our fantastic University of Mississippi music students to the studio, to Nashville for career development. So I'm proud of these students. They're sitting here. You guys have been having a good time? Yeah. All right, let me just tell you the names of these folks. We have Ava Street, who is a vocalist, music ed. Alexis Rose, vocalist, vocal performance. Jesse Gibbons, trumpet, vocal performance. We have Andrew Hill, a music minor. Reagan Arnold, vocal music ed. Ben Roraba, vocal performance. Lily Swilly, vocal music ed. And Haley Terrell, vocal music ed. Let's give a hand for the dream team with the Living Music Resource. And just by the way, if you've been following us on social media, we have named ourselves the Nashville 9. All right, so be looking for Nashville 9 and also hashtag Ole Miss in the studio. So enough about this. Let's move on to our exciting guests for this evening. So the first gentleman I'm going to introduce is named Larry Rogers. Let's talk a little bit about Larry. Larry got his Bachelor of Music Education degree from the University of Mississippi, and he is pretty magnificent at recognizing talent at very talented people at early stages of their career. He began his music career in the late 1960s. He opened up a very successful music studio in Memphis. He has also founded music publishing companies. In the early 80s, he moved to Nashville. And when he moved here, he worked under legendary producer Jerry Kennedy at Mercury Recording Studios. Then moved to CBS. He shifted around a bit, but in 1985, Larry bought, with partner Pat Brewer, Studio 19. Along the way, Larry has produced the #1 country record, Who's Cheatin' Who, on Epic, and Louisiana Saturday Night on Capitol. Help me welcome Larry Rogers. I gotta give you a hug.
Thank you.
I gotta give you a hug. Well, you know, I feel like I've known you a really long time, and it hasn't been that long. But I feel like we're old friends.
A year, right?
It's about a year. And can you believe we're here?
I can.
You can't.
I wanted you to come from the first day we talked. Do you remember?
I do remember. And I think the thing that we wanted to achieve many things. But one of those was really giving our students the opportunity to have an experience in the studio. And they got to do that last night. They got to do that. Let me introduce the person they got to do that with. Is it all right if I introduce your cohort in crime here? So sitting next to the Larry Rogers is Kyle Hershman. Just befriended this person last night. Again, I feel like we've known each other, but...
We have, yeah.
All right, I like it.
We go back hours.
Hours! I mean, you never know how long it's going to be. All right, he entered the recording studio at a very young age. I hear 11. Is this correct?
That sounds about right, yeah.
Sounds about right.
Now he's 14.
I'm 14.
There you go, 14. Prodigy.
I enjoy the health of a much older man, though.
And I'm 20. No. So he moved to Nashville, attended the School of Audio Engineering on Music Row.
Correct.
And that's where your passion sort of came
Blossomed.
Oh, I like that. Graduated in 2007 and came to Studio 19 as an intern. But
Correct.
He was so fantabulous that he ended up running the show.
I think after about 3 months, yeah.
All right, that's
I kind of fell in my lap.
So you were with A-list musicians after a mere 3 months of interning.
Yeah.
And I just want to say this. He has a reputation around Nashville for being one of the best, fastest, and most effective engineers in town. And, oh, we got heads nodding over here. We watched this in action last night. It was magnificent. I mean, it was happening so fast, we didn't even know what was happening, but we were pretty excited.
I didn't know what was happening either.
Oh, whatever. So help me welcome Kyle. I got to give you a hug, too. All right. So tell me how you guys just got connected at first.
Well, for us, I graduated from school and needed an internship, and I just walked door to door to every studio imaginable, and for some reason he saw something in me and called me back, and I came in that night and been with him ever since.
What did you see him in?
I'm going to be honest, I don't remember.
I remember. He told me. I remember what it was. I used to work at a movie theater, and I spliced film, and you thought that was like splicing tape.
But here's what I do remember.
All right.
about Kyle. So the engineer that was what we call the number one engineer at the time at Studio 19 took a job somewhere else. So Kyle at the time was an intern, and we probably hadn't had 5 conversations.
Probably not, yeah.
During his internship. And so I got on the phone. I was looking for an intern, and I think this is what happened.
Do you mind talking in the mic just a little? Perfect, Larry. Yes, yes.
So I think that he walked in to my office, and he said, "I can do this," just like that. And of course, I had my doubts. And I don't know whether I couldn't find anybody else for the next day or not. But one way or the other, Kyle did the session the next day, and he never quit.
You know,
So he could do it right then, and I didn't know it.
well, see, what's interesting, we hear this a lot on this show, right? When we talk to various stars, it's never, I tell the students all the time, it's not like life's perfectly planned out, it's going to unfold a certain way. Opportunity comes in strange packages and unusual times, and even finding that right person, sometimes it's packaged a different way than what you thought.
So he got his opportunity and did it.
I love it. So did you feel like the shoes were a little big you were trying to fill, or were you really ready?
I wasn't quite ready. It was one of those, the very first session I did, I was terrified, and I don't remember any of it. But I somehow managed to not mess it up, and, you know, instincts kick in, training, school, everything that they teach you eventually takes over if you do it enough. And that's kind of what happened, no matter how scared I was.
Was that the first session you did?
It was, yeah.
I'm going to check your mic, Larry. We're going to check it here. Yep, it is. I want to talk a little bit about who all has recorded at the Sound Kitchen. Can we say some of these names?
Absolutely.
I mean, this is incredible to me. Tell me if you recognize any of these names. Sir Elton John, Miley Cyrus, Tim McGraw. I mean, I'm just picking a few. Every name on here I totally know and is unbelievable. Donna Summer, Alabama, Jimmy Buffett, Leanne Rimes, Brad Paisley, Backstreet Boys. I mean, this is a list. This is a legacy.
Well, and how old was the studio? 15 years?
It was built in 91, I believe,
So
yeah.
I think this was the original room that you're sitting in.
Wow.
Most of the stuff was done in here.
In this room.
In this room?
Yes.
Did you guys realize that? No. So our students got to record in here last night, and I know they're sitting over there, but what did you think of what they did?
They were really good. Most people come in, and as soon as they come in, they're nervous, and they can't function. They can't sing, they can't play. They were nervous, but they put that aside, and they did what they came to do, and it sounded great.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. I like it.
Were y'all nervous?
They were very nervous, and I mean, we also have to give that I want to bring that in. I mean, currently at the University of Mississippi, students don't get this opportunity, you know? And one of the missions of the Living Music Resource is to create specific career development opportunities where we're honing skills beyond what's happening. But I think we've planted some good seeds here of, I mean, it just needs to be part of the program.
Exactly.
You know? Exactly. And I love hearing what you said about them. I can't wait to share that with my colleagues.
You really
that
should,
we
yeah.
weren't training, we didn't train them for this exact moment, but they're trained to step into those moments. And it's also, they're the cream of the crop, too.
Well, that, obviously.
They're the cream of the crop. So let's pull in a couple questions from these folks. So Ben wants to know, and I'm curious from either of you, Do studios tend to prefer certain genres, or are you open to whoever wants to come in the door?
Whoever's got $10.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Anyone with money.
Anyone with
We
money.
will do anything.
Now, you guys have had a lot of international clients. I
Yep.
mean, just even this week, well, past 2 weeks, you've had a group from England, right?
Yeah.
What's the name of the group?
2 weeks in Nashville. Twin.
Oh, wait,
Yeah.
what's the name of the group?
2 weeks in Nashville.
That is really the name.
They had a different name. They came here to start an album, and it changed their life. And so they decided to change the name to 2 weeks in Nashville.
I love it. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Maybe our Nashville 9 will stick deeper than we originally thought. I don't know.
I like that.
I mean,
Maybe
yeah,
that's
it will.
a creative
I like
group.
that.
All right, yeah, we've been putting that up, you know. So how many different countries have you serviced? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea.
Yeah, no idea.
No idea.
I know Canadians, Switzerland, Sweden,
Norway.
Norway.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Belgium. I mean, everywhere. We've had people from just about everywhere. That's the one thing. Music
England
is
this week.
Yeah, music knows no language, so music
that's the
is
good-
a language. So
Music is the universal language.
even if people come in and they can't speak English, we can still communicate through music.
Isn't that cool?
It really is.
It's so cool. It's so cool. So, Kyle, Ben wants to know. I'm picking on Ben. When you have people recording, is there a certain type of attitude you want to see, or is there advice you have for people that are first coming in? I mean, how do you, if a group is really nervous, like you were saying, is there anything you can do to help them get at ease, or is it just on them?
Just taking 10 or 15 minutes just to calm down and feel comfortable and
Explain.
yeah, just letting them know that hey, it's not the end of the world if you mess up. We can work a little bit of magic and just making people comfortable.
Yeah, speaking of magic, okay, whose was it that wanted to know how in the heck, although it wasn't their exact quote, I'm adding that, how in the heck did you edit so fast? Like it was just, who asked that question? It was just like click, 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 click.
It's just second nature.
Really?
It just once you do it, it's you learn to look at the waveform and know where things should happen, and you just kind of learn to assume this is where you're going to go, and then sometimes you make a mistake, and you hope no one's there to watch it, but
You
after
had a
doing
lot
it
of
for,
eyes
yeah,
on you last night. And
I've been doing the editing for 12 years, and it just kind of, I don't even have to think about it anymore.
Well, we all talked, and we thought it was so interesting to watch. Watching you work was just, I mean, we enjoyed watching the kids record, but watching you work, how you were shifting things around, it was like, I don't know, a mad
The real key was I
scientist.
wasn't doing anything. I just moved the mouse a lot, and it just looks
Just make
impressive.
it look
yeah.
make it look impressive. It's all a facade.
Yeah.
It's all a facade. Larry, what's the biggest change you've seen in the music industry over your time doing this?
When everything went digital, of course, and now with the internet has changed everything. The way people, the musicians and artists get paid. And I think it's still trying to reinvent itself to see where it winds up.
Where do you guys think it's going to go? Where do you think it's going to go in 5 to 10 years?
That's hard to say. I think things are already back in the way of the single, like they used to be. Instead of people doing albums, they just do kind of singles now. It's kind of hard to even guess, because even 5 years ago, it was a lot different than it is now. Things are looking a little more brighter, but people are putting their heart and souls, and they're not making money, and sometimes they feel gypped, but it's trying to figure out how to package everything in the way that someone wants to give you money for doing something you love.
Don't you think it's much more visual now
It's much more visual
than
yeah.
it was?
Yeah.
YouTube and all that. People have to have music videos, and you also have to be very every other day putting something out. If you have an Instagram account and you're not posting on it every day, people will just forget who you are.
I mean, that's the big thing which has changed so much with, so many
Anything,
industries,
yeah.
so many businesses. If a day goes by, you haven't done something, you're sort of off the radar. And you and I were talking about the visual last night. I mean, and this is another thing with these students. When you're a live performer, you get out there, you do it, and it's just sort of in this abyss somewhere. But when you're suddenly then listening back and everything's exposed, it makes you almost feel naked, because it's like, what am I hearing? And it's a whole other world to step into. And we were talking about how it can be helpful as a performer to constantly think as if there's one blind person and one deaf person
That was
constantly.
you said that,
I did
which I had
mention-
never heard that.
I think it's helpful. Then you're constantly, okay, if someone can't see me, what are they really getting from my instrument?
Right.
And if someone can see me but can't hear me, am I connected in the way I want? What do you do if you have an artist come in who really has no talent? And sorry, I'm just curious. And
haven't had-
they have the money, but you're just how do you handle that?
You do the best you can.
You do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although we don't get many of those.
We don't get a
anymore.
whole lot. We've had a few clunkers, but
Clunkers.
you
I like
do-
that.
you
I'm going
do
to start
as-
using that in
you
class.
do as
That
best
was
as
a
you
clunker.
can.
All right.
They just hire you, and you do the best job you can.
And something else, if you're a good singer, that does not guarantee you success.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you don't have to be a good singer,
Mm-hmm.
and you're successful. Communicating is probably a lot of it.
Absolutely. And the business side. I mean, you can have a lot of
Oh,
talented
yes.
people, but they
Especially
don't have.
now.
Yeah. Or in the tenacity.
Yes.
You know? No, those are good points. How many people come in here actually majored in music?
That's a good question. I don't actually know the answer to it. I'd say most of the musicians probably went to college and majored in music. Singers, give and take. As far as the business people, I'd say none of them. You know, a lot of, producers and people who, record label heads, most of them just kind of ended up somewhere.
But do you think it's 50% can read music?
Yeah, I'd probably
of the
say
musicians can read?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe only 50%.
Interesting.
Everybody plays by ear. Even if you read, I'd say 98% of our sessions, everybody's playing by ear.
Yeah, most of them. I'd say usually jazz sessions are the only ones where there's a score in
Yeah.
front of everyone and they're actually playing. But
Horn
most of the time,
section
yeah.
will come in with a score.
So what is the most important quality each of you think an emerging recording artist needs to have?
I just said it, communicating.
Yeah, I think that's a good, yeah, definitely communication. You have to be able to communicate with your producers, with your fans, with the engineer of what you want. You really have to, if you don't know how to say what you want, you won't get it.
And of course, we're leaving out the main ingredient is the song.
Yeah.
I mean, if don't matter how good you are, if you don't have the right song
Forget
or a
about
good
it.
song, yes.
Yeah.
And it means nothing to the people out there listening if it's not something
Absolutely.
they want to hear again.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to thank you, Larry, sincerely for letting us come and really allowing these students. I'm going to use a big word, but I mean it sincerely. A transformative experience for them to have outside of the classroom. They're really going to take things back that they would have never otherwise had, and that's because of you.
But I was watching when he was recording them last night, and it's kind of good and fresh to see somebody come in that
Has never done it
that
before.
don't do the basic things that we see every day. And
That was one of the reasons I got into this, was watching people come in the studio for the first time, because I remember when I was 11 going into the studio for the first time. And just
where'd you go?
It was a place in western Kentucky, a really small studio
Okay.
that my dad took me to. But just walking in and seeing all the gear and all the cables, and it was a life-changing moment.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to see people come in for the first time and see how, we take it for granted because we see it every day, but they come in and they're seeing things for the first time. It's kind of refreshing for us.
Yeah, they did really good.
Yeah.
I have to say they did really good.
I did not pay them to say that. I did not. So I love that. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we're gonna shift. We're gonna pull. I'm gonna help you off, Larry. We're gonna pull in Reagan and talk a little bit about last night. Will
Okay.
you play the video for us, Lily, of them in the studio? All right, so that was just a little clip, a little compilation video from last night when the students just hopped out of that car, hopped in the studio, and made some magic. So we're sitting here now. We have Reagan Arnold. Reagan is a senior vocal student in music ed. And I'm going to brag on Reagan for a moment. He's done a lot of different things at Ole Miss since you've been there. I mean, both opera, musical theater. You did our cabaret competition. That was a highlight.
That was fun.
And you really did a great job yesterday in the studio. So how was it?
It was pretty surreal. Of course, I was very nervous, but it helped that we, for our first song, Love on the Rocks, we had rehearsed. So it felt, you know, we just kind of kicked into gear and did it. So that really helped for a first experience with.
Because we're looking at a group coming in, I mean, and this is the big difference. I mean, we are training classical musicians predominantly. So we're teaching people to read the music and do exactly what's on the page. But I think we need to find a balance. I mean, I'm going to talk about myself. I can't remember when I didn't read music. So as a result, I wish my ear was actually better. So when I have to learn something just out of
hearing it.
Just from hearing it, it's really like,
It, yeah,
it's a little bit of a struggle because I don't remember not reading. And then there's the flip where you have the person who never learned to read and then trying to learn. It's like, so how do we find that balance? And I'm just curious, do you think that's something we could, I don't know, incorporate into, I don't know, the experience in your education? I mean, whether it's improvising
I was about to say improvisation I think is really important in music because I get really focused on the sheet music, but then again with some of this music that I've known all my life, I tend to go with the same style as the artist that sang it before me.
Okay, so how about that when you have people coming in doing covers versus their own? Is there any difference in how you handle those situations?
Not particularly. It depends on if the person wants the song to be a cover and exactly like the original artist did, or if they want to make it their own. You know, there's a lot of different versions of the same songs, each done differently, and there's a lot of people just trying to copy it. So it depends. If you want that sound, then I've got to go into particular miking techniques and that they would have used back then, or however it was done, or if you just want to make a new thing, then, you know, I always tell people make it your own. It's been done like that already. Just make it your own.
Right.
We added our own spice too.
Yeah, you did.
They did.
Yeah.
I thought that was really neat with that one. Yeah. And then the second one you recorded, Cocaine Blues. I don't know why I can't remember that second word. I don't know what it is. Cocaine Blues.
Yes.
That one posed a few more challenges, I thought, from watching and listening. Why?
I think it wasn't really me, right? I mean, I'm not trying to put the blame on anybody else. The rhythm section, we were trying to use a metronome, and we had never played it together.
I think
No.
you guys hadn't rehearsed it. That's the thing.
That's the
we
thing.
never rehearsed it together.
So it was the layering too, I think, because of the rhythmical aspect, and everyone had their own thing, but it was the collaborative and just how it fit layered. It was just more exposed.
Yeah.
If it didn't, whereas Love on the Rocks, it could push
a little
and
more
pull.
free form, yeah.
Totally, have a little more schmaltz and a little more push and pull, and didn't notice. But in the Cocaine Blues, it was a little more exposed. But I think you found it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Took 5 takes.
that's not very many. I don't think.
That's really, I
It's
mean,
not.
I've done upwards of 30 or 40 takes for one song.
Yeah,
so
seriously, that's
it's
not that
been
many.
a lot, yeah.
Not so many. So, do you have any questions for Kyle?
Oh my goodness, no.
On the spot.
I was just a statement.
You were
I'll
so
give.
blown away, weren't you?
I really was just blown away with the whole experience. Like seeing you work the magic and make us sound so good. I mean,
Well, I can only do so much.
I'm,
The microphones can't, despite what people think, they're not magical. If what's coming in is terrible, I can't make it sound better. I can make it sound a little better. I can do a little bit of polishing, but if, a singer can't sing in tune or on time, or a trumpet player can't play a lick, I can't fix that.
Right.
So really, all I did was put a microphone in front of you guys, and what you heard was you, just enhanced. Just
So
a
I'm
little
curious,
bit.
Kyle, what's your background? What is your instrument?
I
or
had a drum kit and started drumming when I was really young, like 8 years old. And then by the time I got into middle school, I sold my drum kit and bought a trumpet, something I forever regret. turns out girls don't like trumpets as much as they like drum sets.
You just haven't met the right girls. I'm married to a trumpet player, I tell you.
Touche. And from there, I just kind of bounced from instrument to instrument. And then I moved here and got frustrated with myself musically because musicians here are out of this world. I mean, it's sickening watching what they can do in a 3 minutes song they've never heard before. So I'd go home and try to recreate a guitar lick that someone played, and I couldn't. So then I just slowly started just bringing my instruments here and leaving them for people to use. But my background of being able to read a score or a chart and being able to understand musical terms and communicate with the musicians is one of the reasons I'm so quick, because they can say, give me the third bar on the second line of the verse, and I know exactly where to go and exactly when to punch in and punch out. And without that, you can't communicate with the musicians, and without being able to communicate, then you're looking at being here all night.
No, I think that I always find it interesting, and we talk, I'm going to use an Amy Kirkland quote, the mosaic career. And I mean, what you're describing there, you know, we each set out on a certain path of what we're learning and what we're doing, but then what we ultimately end up doing is
Slightly different.
It's slightly different. And
In the same realm, but just slightly different.
Yeah, and I think it is guided by what we're good at. It's also guided by what opportunity presents itself. But I'm just curious, do you think in 2000, what year is it? 2019, that, I was going to say 2020, I'm already there. 2019, that the skills needed to be ready for that mosaic career are more essential or the same as they were, say, a decade ago?
I think they're more essential because I think, I don't remember who I was talking to last night, but look, I have one very particular set of skills that I'm very lucky to be able to do that for a living, but sometimes I lose jobs and gigs to people that can do more than what I can do. So if you go to a guitar player who can play guitar, record and mix your stuff, and sing background vocals on your record, and therefore you hire one person for half the price than it takes you to hire three. So the ability to be able to pick up little parts and bits and pieces and do things is way more important nowadays than it used to be, because you used to have a full studio like this and a $500,000 tape machine. No one had that in their bedroom, but now everyone that has a laptop has a recording studio.
Totally.
So the ability to be able to learn to do that and kind of shift, and maybe you're doing it to make your own music, and then someone hears you next door and goes, hey man, can you record me? And they go, yeah, sure. And you're recording them, and they say, oh, can you put a guitar part on this? And you can do that, and you can just slowly expand by being able to just slowly doing more and more things.
Okay, I just want you guys to pause and think about that for a moment, because I do think you do have to check those boxes off on those degree requirements, and you're in a certain track. But really do listen to yourself as to what makes you tick, what you really enjoy, and that you're really embellishing those experiences with other things so you are ready for that mosaic career. Because I agree with you. I think by today's standards, if you're not ready for that, your career is going to be short-lived.
Yeah, very short, yeah.
Short-lived. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you both coming on up here. We're going to shift. We're going to go to something Larry brought up. We're going to talk about the song itself with someone who is, I can't believe Jim's here. All right, we're going to shift, and we're going to meet Jim Weatherly here in a second. Here we go. Well, welcome back, and I have a new friend sitting beside me, but let me tell you a little bit about this person before we talk. I'm going to brag on you for a moment here. I can't believe you're sitting here. Jim Weatherly, born in Pontotoc, Mississippi, began writing songs when he was 12 years old, attended the University of Mississippi on a football scholarship. You were an All-Southeastern Conference quarterback, an honorable mention All-American for the Ole Miss Rebels football team in 1964, a member of the only unbeaten and untied national championship Rebel football team in Ole Miss history in 1962, and SEC champions in 62 and 63. Now let's jump, whole other spectrum. Jim goes to LA. Jim writes songs. These songs were popular not just with pop and R&B classics, but also in country, gospel, and jazz. Let me see if you know this song. The song Neither One of Us Wants to Be the First to Say Goodbye was a #1 pop and soul hit and won a Grammy Award for Gladys Knight and the Pips. Another song you might be familiar with, and if you're dancing along, I'm okay with that. We should have danced. We should have had a dance party. Midnight Train to Georgia was also a #1 pop and #1 R&B hit. It helped Gladys Knight and the Pips win another Grammy Award. Jim had 7 albums of his own as a recording artist during that time. We're going to jump ahead. This is just, I'm verklempt. In 2006, he was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame and the Mississippi Musicians Hall of Fame. He was inducted into the Ole Miss Alumni Hall of Fame in 2011. In 2014, received the Governor's Award for Excellence in Music from the state of Mississippi. 2014, inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in New York City. In 1999, Midnight Train to Georgia was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. 2001, National Endowment for the Arts and Recording Industry Association of America selected 365 songs of the century. Guess which one made this list? Midnight Train to Georgia was number 29. Also, that song was selected as one of Rolling Stone magazine's 500 greatest songs of all time. So just take a breath. I'm doing the same. I'm taking a breath. And help me welcome the amazing, athletic, musically inclined, kind-hearted, fantabulous person, Jim Weatherly. We literally just met, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little nervous.
Me too.
Then we have that in common. I think we're nervous for different reasons, though. I'm going to be honest. I'm in awe of you.
Oh, well, I am too, actually. I know that sounds silly, but when I look back on those things that you mentioned, it seems like it's somebody else. It's not really me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know that's probably weird to say, but I've always felt like that. And I get to thinking, like a few years ago, I hung all my awards on the wall. I'd never done that. I never put any awards up anywhere. And I keep telling people I put those up there to remember who I used to be, you know.
Wow. It's just your story, you know, I believe athletes and musicians have so much in common. And we've actually done shows based on that because there's so many similarities in terms of the discipline and the teamwork and just so many components that go into it. Do you think your athleticism enhanced the musician side? Like how did they intersect for you at all in your mind, or were they always separate?
They were always separate, but I'm sure they both require the same kind of concentration and focus. Mm-hmm. But you know, when I was doing one, that's what I was doing one, and when I was doing the other, I was doing that, you know. So I never thought about it like a lot of people think it's maybe something kind of strange about it, but I never thought about it, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did I read correctly that you were in a band in college, and you had a gig one night where you had to ask Coach if you could miss practice, or you were going to...
No. That was, we were, in 1964, we wanted to go to the Gulf Coast to play a club for a summer. And I went over and asked Coach Vaught about it because I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize, you know, the football season. And he said, "Oh, no, go ahead. That's great." And to me, it was like a summer job. You know, you're going to load freight, or you're going to dig ditches, or whatever you do to keep in shape. And I was real surprised that he was so supportive. I always think about it, and I think that I don't think any other football coach at that time would have been like that. I really don't.
Why do you think he was so supportive? Do you think, and it's speculative, I mean, do you think it was because he knew the type of person you were, or was it a combination of just the type of leader he was?
That's a good question. I really don't have the answer to that.
I think about that a lot, because you find students present, you get to know your students so well, and I think something that the University of Mississippi does well is the university is so invested in its students, and that's something I can say with absolute confidence. But sometimes you have those moments where you have that special student and you are like, we'll make the exception because of, you know, your commitment and the type of person you are. And I want to be the type of leader in my teaching, whatever, where I'm looking for those moments in those people, you know.
Yeah.
So just curious about that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Coach Fault was always very supportive of me and never said anything unkind about my music at all, which is really kind of surprising.
It is.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious, would you ever be hearing music in your head when you would be practicing? Or the reason I ask this, my son is a tennis player, and I think part of the reason he's so good at it, he listens to music a lot and the rhythm of it, and I swear he hears it in his head when he's playing.
Yeah.
There's like this, I don't know, rhythm. So I'm just curious.
You know, that was so far back in the past, I don't remember. I have no idea.
No idea.
What I was thinking at that time. I was just kind of putting one foot in front of the other and going whichever direction it took me.
But doing it with purpose. I mean, everything I've read about you, I mean, just a man of integrity. It's pretty,
Thank you.
pretty neat, pretty neat. So I'm going to ask a question that Ava has. When you were playing football for Ole Miss, it was during a tense political time. What was it like to be part of the winning team that brought such positive light to the campus? Was that on your mind at all, or again, were you just task at hand?
At the time, I didn't really think much about it. I knew what was going on with the civil rights movement and everything, but our coaches were so good at keeping us focused. And we took one game at a time, and they just said, stay focused on this game, stay away from everything that's going on, don't think about it, don't worry about it. And one thing I didn't know was the governor almost closed Ole Miss down that year, shut the doors. And I believe it was Coach Vaught and maybe some of the other coaches and alumni talked them into keeping it open because they said, you know, this can bring people together. What we're doing in football can bring people together. And they were very right about that. It really did. And it gave us something to talk about today.
Right.
The only undefeated season.
Correct.
You know, things like that. Yeah, but again, it was so long ago that sometimes I have to pinch myself and say, was that really you, or was that?
Well, two things that you've said, I think something that sports and music have in common, they do unify people.
They do.
They bring people together, and people who maybe are polar opposite or you know, violently disagree with one another, it can really be a neutralizing force.
That's
which
exactly
is
right.
The power of both of those things are great. The other thing that you said that it's running wild through my mind, I feel like our young people nowadays have a hard time being in their own thoughts because there's so much going on with social media and the news. They can't get away from it. And I just want to plant a seed. I'm no expert on this, but I just want to plant a seed of hearing him say, you know, the coaches were having them focus on the task at hand. And I think that's great advice for our young people. When you have all the noise and all the chaos going on, decide what you're going to focus on and make that the priority in that moment. Because then that's going to lead to the forward motion to whatever that next step is going to be.
It was a lot less complicated time back in those days. We didn't have to deal with the computer or the iPhone, any of this stuff. Of course, a lot of the things, the recording that we did back in those days now sound primitive, you know, and they all have to be updated.
But aren't those recordings so neat because it's like they're not sterile. I mean, they're
Right.
just you feel like it's living and breathing as you're listening to it, as opposed to, no disrespect to Kyle, I know he wouldn't make a recording sound sterile, but there's just life in them. I love listening to an old recording.
Yeah, well, they were hits.
They were hits.
They were hits, and they've stood the test of time. And I miss regional radio. I miss that because you could hear Fats Domino and Pat Boone and Elvis and Johnny Cash and Jerry Lee Lewis and Aretha Franklin, and you could hear all those people on the same radio station. Now you've got to go to a station that has the genre you want to listen to.
Yeah.
That's frustrating for me because I'm always doing this,
Right.
punching the button. You know, if I don't like that, okay, I'll go here, and then I'll go back. It's frustrating. You know, I'd rather hear music where you can hear everything on one station.
Oh, I love hearing you say that because we've compartmentalized it so much that people get in this bubble or in their lane and they don't venture out. And especially if you're going to be a musician, you need to be listening to great music, different genres.
Yeah, a lot of people a lot of young people don't really even know music like that. They don't even know my songs, you know, and
This group does.
huh?
This group does.
Yeah, well,
Or else their grades will suffer. No, I'm kidding.
but I mean, like, I studied music when I was growing up. I studied who wrote the songs and who was singing them and what the songs were saying to, you know, and for some reason I wanted to do that. I wanted to write songs. I wasn't really qualified, except I just had a desire. And I'm so glad I came along at a time when I came along, because you could write songs about love and romance, and you could be totally honest with your emotions, you know, and I don't, personally, I don't really hear much of that in today's music. Now, maybe it's just me, but I don't follow it I don't follow the songs like I used to follow the songs that had less words.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I write songs, one of the things that I always try to do is use as few words as possible, so that when you heard it, that line could stay with you. It wasn't pushed by another line and going into another line and blah, 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 where, you know, I can't think that fast. I just can't do it. So I came along at a great time, and I'm thankful.
One of the students wanted to know, when you're writing, do the lyrics usually come first, the tune, or do you have a certain method you go about?
For me, and I really feel this is true for all writers, it's whatever gets the song done. Getting it right is what counts. Mm-hmm. You can write it from back to front, middle to both ends. You can write melody first, you can write lyrics first. It's whatever makes that song come out sounding like you want it to sound.
And how do you know when it's right?
It's an intuitive thing with me. Mm-hmm. And it took a lot of years for that intuition to come about, because when I first started writing, I didn't know what I was doing. And then when I started having hits, I was making a living doing something I really didn't know how I did. I didn't know how those songs came about. And then I'd always written by stream of consciousness. Just sit down and start noodling on a guitar or piano. Words started to form, melody started to form. And like with Neither One of Us, I remember writing that song because I remember sitting down on my bed, picking up my guitar, and I sang the whole first verse to Neither One of Us. And I didn't have a title or a melody or a lyric or anything. It's just like it was there, like it had always been there.
But that's why they have to be hits, because what you're describing is so real, is so just something so organically profound inside of you that had to come out. And I mean, I think so many times you talk to people who are super successful or considered an expert, they often do say they don't know how or why they're able to do what they do. It's just, but because it is so just organic. So that's beautiful.
You know, it's funny, most writers I talk to, they're very humble people because they feel like they have a gift and they don't understand why. They don't know, it's like, why me? How did I receive this gift to be able to write songs that affect people
Right.
all over the world?
Right.
It's a very humbling thing.
I think maybe that's something that's potentially missing from some of today's artists. The idea of
Well, it seems today to me. First of all, you have several writers on a song today. When I came up, there were individual writers, singer-songwriters that wrote by themselves, or maybe with one other person. I don't think I would know how to write if I had to sit down and write with 5 other guys, 6 other guys.
That's a whole other dynamic.
I hardly don't know what to do with 3 people because I don't know what my role is writing
I
with
get
3
that.
people, you know?
I do.
Because if I'm into the song, I want it to become my song.
Absolutely. You don't want it to be
And-
filtered or
And if
contrived.
I'm writing something and somebody says, "Oh, I don't like that. Let's do this," blah blah blah, it kind of the steam goes out of me because it's like, ooh, we're screwing this up.
Let it flow.
Yeah.
Let it flow. All right. I hope you don't get tired of telling this story, but can we talk about what the original title of Midnight Train to Georgia was and how the inspiration from
Sure.
that piece came about? So am I correct? It was the Midnight Plane to Houston.
Yes. Yes.
But thank God you had that thought. And
The thing is, and not many people know this, but a friend of mine, Lee Majors, who was a $6 million man,
I remember that.
was dating Farrah Fawcett. And I called Lee one time, and Farrah answered the phone, and she said, during the course of the conversation, she said she was taking a midnight plane to Houston to visit her family. And a little bell went off, really. I mean, literally. It's like, ding. And then I held it in my head until we got off the phone. I picked up my guitar, and I wrote the song in about 30 minutes. Because that's how affected I was by what she was saying. And the song just came so easy, you know. I'm going back to a simpler place. And so that's how Midnight Plane to Houston got written. Then later on, my publisher pitched the song into Sunny Limbo in Atlanta for Sissy Houston. And they loved it and wanted to cut it, but they said, you know, we'd really love to have a more R&B sounding title. So my publisher said, well, what do you got in mind? They said, well, what about Midnight Train to Georgia? And he asked me about it, and I said, I don't care, but, you know, no publishing, no writers, no this, no that. I'm not one of those people that believe if a person adds one thought to a song, they should get part of the publishing. I've never been there. And when I've helped other people, when I've given, I say, I think this line would be better here. I take none of that song.
Got it.
Because that's their song, and sometimes just a helping hand can make it better. And people have helped me along the way, you know. But anyway, they recorded it, and then Gladys heard that version, Midnight Train to Georgia. And that's what it stayed. As far as I was concerned, it would always be Midnight Plane to Houston. But when a song gets to be that big
Right.
all over the world, it's hard to come up with playing Midnight Plane to Houston and have folks respond, you know.
Yeah. Do you hear Midnight Plane to Houston when Midnight Train to Georgia's going?
Sometimes I do. Not in the Gladys Knight record or those tempo, but I've recorded a ballad version of it. And I really had an argument with myself whether I would use Midnight Plane to Houston or Midnight Train to Georgia. And then I just thought, I can't confuse people. It's been this title for so long. Mm-hmm. And so I just did Midnight Train to Georgia. And Neil Diamond, of all people, covered that song.
Wow.
The ballad version.
Wow. So neat.
Yeah,
So
I never expected a Neil Diamond cut.
That's amazing. Wow. Well, I hope this is the start of you being a longtime friend of LMR, and I hope this is the beginning of us having a friendship, because I really appreciate
thank
you
you.
sharing your story and sharing your insight. I want to give a little plug. You have a fantastic book written with Jeff Robertson.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it out loud here. I am going to suggest that this becomes a common read for the music department. So we're gonna make that happen. I want to get every music student.
Let's go further than that.
Okay, I'm all for going further.
Everybody at Ole Miss, all the alumni.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I have power. I shouldn't say power. I have influence in the music department. We'll start there.
Okay.
And it'll catch on and it'll go crazy. How about that?
That'll be good.
I can make things go crazy, can't I? Yes. But I really think we've never had a common read in the music department, and I think it would make sense.
It's an interesting book.
I agree.
And Jeff and I spent 6 years whittling it down to what it is, and so far the people that have read it, that have told me about it, say it's one of the best books they ever read.
Well, I'm excited, and when we're off camera, although I'm saying it now on camera, I'm going to ask you if you'll sign mine for me.
Oh, sure.
We'll do that. We'll do it after. Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna shift things. We're gonna go in a little funky mode here. We're gonna go to our game time, and we're gonna meet another new friend here in a minute, named Jeff. But let's get ready for our game. Here we go. So we are back, and we've already mentioned about Jeff Robertson and working on the book with Jim Weatherly. We also have another book that is just coming out, correct?
That's correct.
When is the book signing?
October 18th, Friday night of Texas A&M football weekend at Off Square Books.
So I expect to see everybody there. And I've only briefly glimpsed at this, but it looks amazing. And this was done with Neil White, right?
There were a lot of people that really contributed to that book. I wrote some stories, and a lot of other people wrote a lot of stories. So it was a really collective effort, and it took a lot of work on Neil's part and others, but we had a lot of fun doing it.
Thanks for putting it together. Thank you for sharing it with us. And go buy it, all right? All right, we are going to have the coin toss. We are sticking with our football theme. If you want to sing your answers, you can. Do you sing at all?
No.
But we have a former drum major right here in the house. Okay, I'm going to try to catch this coin. Okay, heads or tails? Who's guessing? Go, you go.
Heads.
It is tails. So would you like to go first?
To go
You okay
first
with it?
or defer?
Or defer. I suggest going
I'll
first.
go first.
All
I'll go
right,
first.
all right, you go first.
Might as well.
So we are playing Tailgate Trivia, where they will receive a question. If they get the answer right, 2 points. They have the option to then go for the field goal. They get the field goal, 1 more point. We'll get 3. First person to 12 wins. Why number 12? Because that was Jim's number. Here we go. Number 1. When was Ole Miss founded?
1848.
Ding! Correct. 2 points. All right. Grab yourself a football.
Right.
Let's see if he can get it across the field goal.
Okay, so I'm going to do this. I haven't practiced this in like years.
Close, but no cigar.
It was really
It is
close
2-0.
to that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. In 1937, oh, this one's cruel. In 1937, Ole Miss was the first college football team to travel by what form of transportation to an away game?
Train.
Wrong.
Do I get to answer?
We'll let you.
It's a little unfair. I have advantage of
We won't give you points for it, but we'll let you go ahead. What is it?
Airplane.
Airplane. And that's what we thought. We picked this because we thought I would have probably said train too.
Airplane.
So anyways. All right. Now this will be fair now. Okay. What year was the Living Music Resource founded?
The Living
That's what-
Music
that's us.
Resource was founded sometime in the past.
That
Got
was
no
true. Can you give a year? Just a guess.
2014.
Not far off, 2012. All right, so there we're keeping it fair. This is just random order here. All right, Reagan. What are the ingredients in a hot toddy?
Hot tea and whiskey.
Okay, anything else you want to add?
Honey.
Anything else you want to add?
Lemon.
Very nice. Yes, it is whiskey, honey, and lemon. Is it all right if I give him that one? Is that all right?
Oh, yeah.
I
All right,
got
he's
all
got
of that
2
on my
points.
own.
Because I would not have gotten that.
All right.
I'm gonna close my eyes.
I had a
in case.
fumble. Hold on.
Oh! Close but no cigar. All right, we are tied. Correct? 2-all. What bowl has Ole Miss appeared in 8 times?
Are you sure it's not 9?
Oh.
Sugar Bowl?
Are we wrong? Oh, I'm going to have to get with my accounting firm over there. All right, so it's 9?
Sugar Bowl?
Yeah.
9.
We were wrong. It's 9 times. I think we should give him
The
extra
field goal's
points.
up. He's
the
right.
field goal's up. Let's do it.
But between the 8th one and the 9th one was 46 years, so it's okay to not have a...
How brilliant that we have Jeff here to
So
keep
I
us
gotta
on
kick
the straight
again?
and narrow. You get to go. You get to go. It is
Okay.
4-2. It's about, I feel
Jim
it.
played in 2 Sugar Bowls. You may have that as a question. I should
Okay.
probably not have done that.
Oh, good. I hope it's mine.
Sorry, Reagan.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Until 1963, the music building functioned as what building for the city?
It was a high school.
Correct.
That is right.
I'm glad I read the signs.
That's right. You're keeping score, Lily, right? Woo! What is our score? 5-4. All right. In 2008, which presidential candidates participated in a debate held at the Ford Center?
Obama and McCain.
Very nice. 2 more points. I forgot to do the cheer. We're going to have to do the cheer later
Try
on.
something different here. I wonder if I can do it like
Go for it,
this.
man.
No good?
Was it good?
We have a ref here. He said no good.
My leg got better, or whatever. It went a lot
Your leg
further.
get better.
All right, Reagan. What is our current mascot and its name?
It's a shark, and his name is Tony Fine. Or
Is it-
Tony. It's after Tony Fine, right?
Yes,
Lane.
Sure.
All right.
That sounds good to me.
That was good.
What kind of shark? All right, you get to go again. Where's the score? 7 to 6.
It's good.
All right, woo! Here we go. All right.
Have it back.
This is child's play to you, Rob. To you. So, why is this campus speed limit 18 miles per hour?
Well, it's not 12, but part of it is 10. So Archie Manning's number.
Correct. And we almost
Would
put
that
that
be
other
it?
one in there, and
Put
we
all the
thought,
titles
yes,
in.
you got it.
Yeah.
All right, 2 more points, and
All
now we
right.
got. I'm feeling it. It's going to go across this time.
Am I doing
Watch
the
your
right
eyes,
thing?
Reagan. It's
Grabbing
gonna.
another bag all the time. All right.
You're great. You're great.
I'm gonna make one here in a second.
Here we go.
All right, here goes.
That is totally in. Totally in. All right.
Thank you.
It's getting intense in here. All right. Reagan. What state is considered the birthplace of America's music?
Mississippi?
Correct.
Oh, my goodness.
No go, no go. All right. In 2014, the students stormed the field after the Ole Miss Rebels won. What team did they win against?
Alabama.
Correct. What is our
Hotty
score?
toddy.
10 to 11.
This could be it.
So this is
could
it?
be
11.
it. So it,
I have no idea how we've been keeping
it,
up with
it
the
was
score.
just my
so.
accountant over there. So
11
if you
to-
get it, we better get ready to do the cheer, okay, guys? Keeping it stiff.
Wide
All
right.
right. Each year, a football player wears the number 38 in honor of which past Ole Miss football player?
Chucky Mullins.
Correct. You just won, but go for it. You could get it to 13, dude.
So he won,
He just won.
but he has to kick anyway?
Yeah, we're just going to do it for fun. Why not?
If I get it wrong, no.
If you get it wrong, we're taking points. No, I promise we won't. It's just fun to watch you flick this. Woo! Are you ready?
Hell yes! Damn right! Hotty toddy, gosh almighty, who the hell are we? Hey! Flim flam, bam bam, Ole Miss, by damn!
That is right. So tonight we have celebrated some music. Tonight we have celebrated some football. But what we've done most importantly is we have celebrated the University of Mississippi. So I want to thank some folks for making this possible. I want to thank our LMR supporters. I want to thank our Secret Salon Society. I want to thank our loyal viewers via the web. I want to thank the College of Liberal Arts, the Department of Music, Amanda Fleiflet back at the Music Building. I want to thank Ron Wilson and the Foundation, a true friend to LMR and an amazing asset to the university. I want to thank Studio 19, Larry and Kyle, for allowing us to descend upon them and be cuckoo bananas. I would like to thank Jim for really going out on a limb and coming here tonight to talk with us, and for Jeff being a great sport and just jumping on board. I also want to thank the Executive Managing Director for LMR, Brady Bramlett, and the University of Mississippi students who work with me on LMR. I want to thank Ava, Haley, Reagan, Alexis, and Lily, and also Corinne back in Oxford. They are a dream team, and they're going to be a new dream team you're getting to know this year. We are developing skills in these students that are going to make them more marketable, ready for real-world work. And what do we always say? The music, research, revolution continues. See ya.